Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Darati Swaparantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamalам Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Saganaragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganalalita Sri Visakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyvari Pashatare Shatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Haribol. So today we continue this book, The Journey of Self-Discovery, and chapter 5, Yoga and Meditation. 5.1 Meditation through Transcendental Sound. Lecturing at Boston's Northeastern University in the summer of 1969, Srila Prabhupada introduces a meditation system renowned for its extraordinary power and the fact that it can be easily practiced almost anywhere and at any time. If you take up the simple process, he says, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you are immediately elevated to the transcendental platform. He adds, no other meditation is possible while you are walking on the street. My dear boys and girls, I thank you very much for attending this meeting. We are spreading this Krishna consciousness movement because there is a great need of this consciousness throughout the world, and the process is very easy. That is the advantage. First of all, we must try to understand what the transcendental platform is. As far as our present condition is concerned, we are on various platforms. So we have to first of all stand on the transcendental platform. Then there can be question of transcendental meditation. In the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you'll find an explanation of the various statuses of conditional life. The first is the bodily conception of the life, Indriyani Paranyahu. Everyone in this material world is under this bodily concept of life. Someone is thinking, I am Indian. You are thinking, I am American. Somebody is thinking, I am Russian. Somebody is thinking he's something else. So everyone is thinking, I am the body. This bodily standard of conditioned life is called the sensual platform. Because as long as we have bodily conception of life, we think happiness means sense gratification. That's all. This bodily concept of life is very prominent at the present moment. Not only at the present moment, but since the creation of this material world. That is the disease. I am the body. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Yasyadma buddhi kunape tridatuke. Bhagavatam 10:84-13. Thinking we are the body means we have a concept of ourselves as a bag of skin and bones. The body is a bag of skin, bones, blood, urine, stool, and so many other nice things. So when we think, I am the body, we are actually thinking, I am a bag of bones and skin and stool and urine. That is my beauty. That is my everything. So this bodily concept of life is not very intelligent, and improvement of the body is not the right calculation of self-realization. Those who are too engrossed with the bodily concept of life are recommended to practice the Dhyana Yoga system, the yoga of meditation. That is mentioned in the Srimad Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In the 6th chapter, verses 13 and 14, Krishna explains, one should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me and make me the ultimate goal of life. Earlier, Lord Krishna gives preliminary instructions on how one should practice this transcendental meditation. One has to restrict sense gratification, especially sex. One has to select a very solitary place and a sacred place and sit down alone. This meditation process is not practiced in a place like this, a big city, where many people are gathered. One must go to a solitary place and practice alone. And then you have to carefully select your sitting place. You have to sit in a certain way. There are so many things. Of course, those things cannot be explained within a few minutes. If you are very much interested, you'll find a full description in Bhagavad Gita in the chapter called Dhyana Yoga. So from the bodily concept of life, one has to transcend to the spiritual platform. That is the goal of any genuine process of self-realization. I began by saying that at first we are all thinking we are the body, Indriyani Paranyahu. Then one who has transcended the bodily concept of life comes to the platform of mind, Indriyebhya Param Manaha. The word Manaha means mind. Practically, the whole population of the world is under the bodily concept of life, but above them are some people who are under the mental concept of life. They are thinking they are the mind, and a few people are on the intellectual platform, Manasastu Para Buddhi. Buddhi means intelligence, and when you transcend the intellectual platform, then you come to the spiritual platform. That is the first realization required. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhus. Anyone can continue from here. Ribo.
I want to read Pooh.
Yes,
Hare Krishna.
take.
Before you practice transcendental meditation, you have to reach the transcendental platform. The transcendental platform is called Brahma Bhutaha. Perhaps you have heard this word Brahman. The transcendentalist thinks Aham Brahmasmi. I am not the body, I am not mind, and I am not the intelligence. I am a spirit soul. This is the transcendental platform. We are talking of transcendental meditation. So, by transcending the bodily concept of life, transcending the mental concept of life, and transcending the intellectual concept of life, you come to the real spiritual platform, which is called the Brahma Bhuta stage. You cannot simply say some words, now I have realized Brahman. They are symptoms. Everything has symptoms. And how we can know if someone has realized transcendence, Brahman, is explained in Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Brahma Bhutaha Prasanatma. When one is on the transcendental platform, the Brahma Bhuta stage's symptom is that he is always joyful. There is no morosenses. And what does joyful mean? That is also explained. Na sochati na kangshati. Someone on the transcendental platform does not hanker after anything, nor does he lament. On the material platform, we have two symptoms, hankering and lamenting. The thing we do not possess, we hanker after, and the thing we have lost, we lament for. These are the symptoms of the bodily concept of life. The whole material world is hankering after sex. That is a basic principle of hankering. Pumsa striya mithuni bhavam etam. Mithuni bhavam means sex. Whether you look at the human society or the animal society or the bird society or the insect society, everywhere you will find that sex is very prominent. There is a materialistic way of life. A boy is hankering after a girl is hankering after a boy, a man is hankering after a woman is hankering after a man. This is going on. And as soon as the man and woman unite, the hard knot in the heart is tied. Tayor mitho hridaya granthim ayu. They think I am matter. This body belongs to me. This woman or man belongs to me. This country belongs to me. This world belongs to me. This is a hard knot. Instead of transcending the bodily concept of life, they become still more implicated. the situation becomes very difficult. Therefore, Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita that if you are at all interested in practicing yoga and meditation, in trying to rise to the transcendental platform, you must cease from sex. But in the present age, that is not possible. So, in our method, Krishna consciousness, we do not say stop sex. We say don't have illicit sex. Of course, what to speak of transcendental life? Giving of illicit sex is a requirement for civilized life. In every civilized society, there is a system of marriage, and if there is sex outside of marriage, that is called illicit sex. That is never allowed for people in any civilized society. What to speak of those trying transcendental life? For transcendental life must be purified of all mental and bodily concept of self. But in the age of Kali, where everyone is disturbed, always full of anxieties, and where life is very short, people are generally not interested in any transcendental subject matter. They're interested only in the bodily concept of life. When one is actually disturbed by so many anxieties, how can he ascend to the platform of transcendental realization? It is very difficult in this age. It was very difficult even 5,000 years ago when Arjuna took instruction on meditation from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna was a royal prince. He was very much advanced in so many ways, yet on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he said, "My dear Krishna, it is not possible for me to practice this transcendental meditation, this dhyana yoga process. I'm a family man. I have come here to fight for my political interest. How can I practice this system in which I have to go to a solitary place, I have to sit down, I have to choose from sex? It is not possible." Arjuna was so much more qualified than we are, yet he refused to practice this meditation process. So, reaching the transcendental platform by the Hatha Yoga or Dhyana Yoga system is not at all possible in this age. And if somebody is trying to practice such so called meditation, he is not actually practicing transcendental meditation. You cannot platform this, cannot perform this transcendental meditation in the city. It is not possible. That is very clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. If you are living in the city, you are living with your family, you are living with your friends, it is not possible for you to go to forest and find a sorry, what is called secluded place. But Krishna says you must do this to practice transcendental meditation. Please scroll it down. So here in this age, if you want to rise to the transcendental platform, then you must follow the recommendation of the Vedic literature. Kalotad Hari Kirtanad. In this age, simply by chanting the holy name of Lord, God, one can reach all perfection. We are not introducing this chanting system by our mental concoction to make things very easy. No. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this process of transcendental meditation 500 years ago. Also, the Vedic literature recommends it, and it is practical. You have a transcendental feeling as soon as you begin chanting Hare Krishna. If you practice, you will also see how you are rising to the transcendental platform. So chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare is the easiest process of transcendental meditation. This transcendental sound vibration will immediately carry you to the transcendental platform, especially if you try to hear so that your mind is absorbed in the sound. This Hare Krishna sound vibration is non-different from Krishna, because Krishna is absolute. Since God is absolute, there is no difference between God's name and God's himself. In the material world, there is a difference between water and the word water, between flower and the word flower. But in the spiritual world, in the absolute world, there is no such difference. Therefore, as soon as you vibrate the Hare Krishna, you immediately associate with the Supreme Lord and his energy. The word Hare indicates the energy of the Supreme Lord. Everything is being done by the energy of the Supreme Lord. Parasya Brahmanaha Shakti, just as a planet. So the whole material and spiritual manifestation is a question of the energy of the Supreme Lord. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we are praying to the energy of the Supreme Lord and to the Supreme Lord himself. Please pick me up. Please pick me up. I am in the bodily concept of life. I am in these materials existence. I am suffering. You have, if you are a student, remain a student. If you are a businessman, remain a businessman. Woman, man, black, white, anyone can chant Hare Krishna. It is a simple process, and there is a charge. We are not saying give me so many dollars and I then what next do? I shall give you this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. No, we are distributing it publicly. You simply have to catch it up and try it. You will very quickly come to the transcendental platform. When you hear the chanting, that is transcendental meditation. This process is recommended in all the scriptures of the Vedic literature. It was taught by Lord Chaitanya and followed by his disciplic succession for the last 500 years. And people are achieving good results from it today, not only in India but here also. If you try to understand what this Krishna consciousness movement is, you will understand how transcendental meditation is possible. We are not sentimentalists. We have many books, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, teaching of Lord Chaitanya, Isha Upanishad, and we have our magazine, Back to Godhead. It is not that we are sentimentalist. We are backed up by high philosophical thought. But if you take up this simple process, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you are immediately elevated to the transcendental platform, even without reading so much more philosophical literature. This is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift to the conditioned souls of the present age, in accordance with the Vedic sanction. So our request is that you give it a try. Simply chant at home or anywhere. There is no restriction. We have to chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra in such and such place, in such and such condition. No niyama smarane na kalaha. There is no restriction of time, circumstances, or atmosphere. Anywhere at any time you can meditate by chanting Hare Krishna. No other meditation is possible while you are walking on the street, but this meditation is possible. You are walking with your hands, you can chant Hare Krishna. It is so nice. Krishna is perfect name for God, and Sanskrit word Krishna means all attractive, and Rama means the supreme pleasure. So, if God is not all attractive and full of supreme pleasure, then what is the meaning of God? God must be the source of supreme pleasure. Otherwise, how could be you satisfied? How could you be satisfied with Him? Your heart is hankering after so many pleasures. If God cannot satisfy you with all pleasures, then how can He be God? And He must also be all attractive. If God is not attractive to every person, how can He be God? But Krishna actually is all attractive. So the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not sectarian because we are chanting these three names, Hare Krishna and Rama. Hare Krishna and Rama. Some may think there are Hindu names. Why should we chant these Hindu names? There are some sectarian people who may think like that. But Lord Chaitanya says doesn't matter. If you have some other bona fide name of God, you can chant that. But chant God's name. That is the instruction of Krishna consciousness movement. So do not think that his movement is trying to convert you from Christian to Hindu. Remain a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim. It does not matter. If you really want to perfect your life, then try to develop your dormant love for God. That is the perfection of life. Sava pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. You may profess any religion, but to test whether your religion is perfect or whether you're perfect, you have to see whether you have developed your love for God. Now we are distributing our love among so many things, but when all this love is concentrated simply on God, that is the perfection of love. Our love is there, but because we have forgotten our relationship with, we are directing our love towards dogs. That is our disease. We have to transfer our love from so many dogs to God. That is the perfection of life. So we are not teaching any particular type of religion. We are simply teaching that you should learn to love God, and this is possible by chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Chapter 5.2, The Way of Yoga. We generally regard yoga merely as a form of physical exercise, but in the following lectures delivered in February 1969 in Los Angeles, Srila Prabhupada reveals the inner meaning and nature of yoga as taught and practiced in India for centuries. He explains how expert yogis can, by practicing austerities, travel to any planet in the universe. But he concludes that at the time of death, the most successful yogis transfer themselves to spiritual world and enter into the Krishna Loka or the Krishna planet and enjoy with Krishna. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुधाय च मूर्धनि अधयात्मनः परम अस्थितो योगा धर्मन्. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind and the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One established himself in yoga. Bhagavad Gita 8.12. There are different kinds of transcendentalists or yogis. The Jnani yogis, the Dhyana yogis, the Bhakti yoga, all of them are eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world because the yoga system is meant for re-establishing your link with the Supreme Lord. Actually, we are eternally connected with the Supreme Lord, but somehow or other we are now entangled in material contamination. So the process is that we have to go back again. That linking process is called yoga. The actual meaning of the word yoga is plus. Now, at the present moment, we are minus God. If we are plus or then our human form of life is perfect. But the time of death comes where we must reach the stage of perfection as long as we are alive. We have to practice how to approach the point of perfection. And at the time of death, when we give up this material body, the perfection must be realized. Prayana kale manas chalena. Prayana kale means at the time of death. For instance, a student may prepare 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years in this college education, and the final test is his examination. If he passes examinations, then he gets the degree. Similarly, if we prepare for the examination of death and we pass the examination, then we are transferred to the spiritual world. All that we have learned in this life is examined at the time of death. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is describing what we should do at the point of death. When we are giving up this present body for the dhyana yoga is a perfection, the prescription is sarvadvarani samyamya mano redi niruddhaya cha. In the technical language of the yoga system, this process is called pratyahara. Pratyahara means just the opposite. For example, suppose my eyes are engaged in seeing worldly beauty, so I would have to refrain from enjoying that external beauty and instead engage in the meditation to see the beauty within. That is called the pratyahara. Similarly, I would have to hear omkara, the sound representation of the Lord from within. And in the same way, all the senses must be withdrawn from their external activities and engaged in meditation on God. That is the perfection of dhyana yoga. To concentrate the mind on Vishnu or God. The mind is very agitating, so it has to be fixed on the heart. Mano hridi niruddhaya. Then we have to transfer the life air to the top of the head. Murdhani adhyatmanah pranam astito yoga dharanam. That is the perfection of yoga. A perfect dhyana yoga can choose his own destination after death. There are innumerable material planets, and beyond the material planets is the spiritual world. Yogis have information about all the different planets. Where did they get this information? From the Vedic scriptures. For instance, before I came to your country, I got the description of your country from books. Similarly, we can get the description of the higher planets and spiritual world from the Srimad Bhagavatam. The yogi knows everything and he can transfer himself to any planet he likes. He does not require the help of any spaceship. The scientists have been trying to reach other planets for so many years with their spaceships, and they will go on trying for 100 or 1000 years. But they will never be successful. Rest assured. This is not the process to reach another planet. Maybe by scientific progress, one man or two men can succeed, but that is not the general process. The general process is that if you want to transfer yourself to any better planet, then you have to practice the dhyana yoga system or the jnana system, but not the bhakti system. The bhakti system is not meant for attaining any material planet. Those who render devotional service to Krishna, Supreme Lord, are not interested in any planet of the material world. Why? Because they know that regardless of what planet you elevate yourself to, the four principles of material existence will still be there. What are the those principles? Birth, death, disease, and old age. You will find these on any planet you go to. On some higher planets, the duration of life may be very, very much longer than on this earth, but still death is there. Material life means birth, death, disease, and old age, and spiritual life means relief from this uh, uh, birth. So no more birth, no more death, no more ignorance, no more misery. So those who are intelligent do not try to elevate themselves to any planets of the material world. Now, the scientists are trying to reach the moon planet, but it is very difficult for them to gain entrance because they do not have a suitable body. But if we enter into the higher planets by this yoga system, then we will get a body suitable for those planets. For every planet, there is a suitable body, otherwise, you cannot enter. For example, although we cannot live in the water with its body, we can live in the water with oxygen tanks for 15 or 16 hours. But the fish and the aquatic animals have a suitable body. They're living the whole life underwater. And of course, if you take the fish out of the water and put them on the land, they will be they will die instantly. So you even on this planet, you have to have a suitable kind of body to live in a particular place. Similarly, if you want to enter into another planet, you have to prepare yourself by getting a particular type of body. In the higher planets, our years is equal to 1 day and 9, and you live for 10,000 of such years. There's a description in Vedic literature, so you get a very long duration of life, undoubtedly. But then there is death. After 10,000 years or 20,000 years or millions of years, it doesn't matter. It is all counted and death is there. But you, na hayante haryante sarire, Bhagavad Gita 2.22, so 2.20, you are an, please scroll down to Hare Krishna. You are an eternal spirit. Why should you subject yourself to the birth and death? To ask this question is a sign of real intelligence. Those persons who are in Krishna consciousness are very intelligent. They aren't interested in promotion to any planet where there is death, regardless of how long you live. They want a spiritual body, just like God. God's body is Satchidananda Vigraha, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Brahma Samitandam is full of pleasure. If you leave this body, the body is similar to his Satchidananda. It is of the very planets. You are a very minute spiritual particle within this body, and you are being sustained in the prana vayu of life airs. The Dhyana Yoga system, the Satchakra system, aims to get the soul from its position in the heart to the topmost planet. Sorry, I lost it, I think. Where I was. So if you like, just like you are invest. Oh, yes, thank you. The topmost part of the head and the perfection is when you can place yourself at the top of the head, and by rupturing this topmost part of the head, transfer yourself into the higher planet as you like. A Dhyana Yoga can transfer into any planet whenever he likes. So if you like, just like you are inquisitive about this moon planet, so if you like, just like you are inquisitive about the moon planet, become a yogi and go there. A yogi thinks, oh, let me see what the moon planet is like, then I shall transfer myself to higher planets. It is the same with ordinary travelers. They come to New York, then go to the California, then go to Canada. Similarly, you can transfer yourself to the many planets of the by this yoga system. But anywhere you go, the same system, visa system and custom system are there. So a Krishna conscious person is not interested in any of these temporary planets in life. There may be a long duration, but he is not interested. For the yogi, there is a process of giving up this body. Om iti aksharam brahma vayaharam mam anushmaranam yaha prayati tvaya janam deham sayati pramam gatim. At the time of death, Om, he can pronounce Om, the Omkara. Omkara is a concise form of transcendental sound vibration. Om iti ekaksharam iksharam brahma vayaharam. If he can vibrate this sound Omkara and at the same time remember Krishna or Vishnu, Mam Anushmaran, he can enter into the spiritual kingdom. The whole yoga system is meant for concentrating the mind on Vishnu, but the impersonal imagine there is Omkara in the form of Vishnu or the Lord. Those who are personalists do not imagine, they see the actual form of the Supreme Lord. Anyway, whether you concentrate on your mind by imagining or you see factually, you have to fix your mind on the Vishnu form. Here, Mam means unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Yaha Prayati Tyajan Deham. Anyone who quits his body remembering Vishnu, Sayati Pramam Gatem, they enters into the spiritual kingdom. Those who are actually do not desire to enter any other planets in the material world because they know that life is temporary. That that is intelligence. Those who are satisfied with temporary happiness, temporary life, and temporary facilities are not intelligent. According to the Bhagavad Gita, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpa medhasham. I am permanent. I am eternal. Who wants non-permanent existence? Nobody wants it. Suppose you are living in an apartment and the landlord asks you to vacate. You are sorry, but you will not be sorry if you go to a better apartment. So this is our nature. Whenever we live, because we are permanent, we want to permanent residence. That is our inclination. We do not wish to die. Why? Because we are permanent. We do not want to be diseased. There are all artificial external things: disease, death, birth, miseries. They are external things. Just like sometimes you are attacked with fever, you are not meant for suffering from fever, but sometimes it comes upon you, so you have to take precautions to get out of it. Similarly, these four kind of external affection, birth, death, disease, and old age, are due to the material body. If we can get out of this material body, we can get out of this affliction. So for the yogi who is an impersonalist, the recommended process is vibrating the transcendental sound om while living this body. Anyone who is able to quit this material body while uttering the transcendental sound of Om with full consciousness of the Supreme Lord is sure to be transferred to the spiritual world. But those who are not personalists cannot enter into spiritual planets, they remain outside. Maybe a long days ago, I saw a video on YouTube, and he was saying that the spiritual planets is not higher than the the Nirguna Brahman. It's lower than that. They were saying like that.
Yes, Prabhu, that's nonsense.
The whole thing they actually doing opposite. But those who are not personalists cannot enter the spiritual planets. They remain outside. Just like the sunshine and the sun planet, the sunshine is not different from the sun disk, but still the sunshine is not the sun disk. Similarly, those impersonal who are transferred to the spiritual world remain in the effulgence of the Supreme Lord, which is called the Brahma Jyoti. Those who are not personalists are placed into the Brahma Jyoti as one of the minute particles. We are minor particles, spiritual sparks, and the Brahmajyoti is full of such spiritual sparks. So you become one of the spiritual sparks. That is, you merge into spiritual existence. You keep your individuality, but because you do not want any personal form, you are held there in their impersonal Brahmajyoti. Just as the sunshine is small molecules, shining molecules, those who are scientists know. Similarly, we are tiny particles, some smaller than an atom. Our magnitude is 1/10,000th of a tip of hair, so that small particle remains in the Brahma Jyoti. The difficulty is that as living entity, I want enjoyment because I am not only simple existence, I have got bliss. I am composed of three spiritual qualities, Satchidananda. I am eternal and I am full of knowledge and full of bliss. Those who are entered in this impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Lord can remain eternally with full knowledge that they are now merged with Brahman or the Brahma Jyoti, but they cannot have eternal bliss because that part is wanting. If you are confined in a room alone, you may read a book or think some thought, but still you cannot remain alone all the time for all the years of your life. That is not possible. You will find some association, some recreation. That is our nature. Similarly, if we merge into impersonal intelligence of the Supreme Lord, then there is a chance of falling down again to the material world. That is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.232. येनया रविन्दक्षा विमुखा मनीयस त्वया अस्था भवद अभिशुद्ध्या बुद्धया आयुहया आयुहया कर्चेरेण परम पदम ततः पतन्ति अधो नदरत यशोमाद अनुग्रहः. It is just like an astronaut who go higher and still higher, 25,000 or 30,000 or 100,000 miles up, but they have to come to rest on some planets. So coming to rest is required. In an impersonal form of resting place is uncertain. Therefore, the Brahma Bhagavatam says, Ayuha Vacharena Param Padam Tattva. Even after so much endeavor, if the impersonalist gets in the spiritual world and remains in that impersonal form, the risk is Patanti Adaha, that they will come down he will come down into material existence again. Why? Anadrata Yusmad Angreha, because he has neglected to serve Supreme Lord with love and devotion. What was the verse, Prabhu? 10 to 32 32.
This one?
uh, which I have just read, the 10.2.32 though, which talks about falling down, even residing in this Brahma Jyoti. Yes, this one. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Where was I? Where I was. Therefore, Bhagavatam says, Ayuracha Kacharena Param Padam Tatva. Even after so much endeavor, if the impersonal gets into the spiritual world and remains in that impersonal form, the risk is, patanti adaha, that he will come down into material existence again. Why? Anadrata Yusmad Anagraya, because he has neglected to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. So, as long as we are here, we have to practice loving Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Then we can enter the spiritual planets. This is the training. If you are not trained in that way, then by impersonal endeavor, you can enter into spiritual kingdom, but there is a risk of falling down again. Because that loneliness will create some disturbance and you will try to have association. And because you have no association with the Supreme Lord, you will have to come back again and associate with the spiritual Lord. But Prabhu, we know in the spiritual kingdom there is no effect of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tama. So, in the mode of passion or maybe ignorance, there is chance of falling down even in sattva guna. So, what about this? What when we merge into Brahma Jyoti, but still how can you understand this? Because we do not have the what
Hare Krishna. I think they're liberated from the modes, but they don't have association of the Lord because they are liberated. It's the lowest stage of liberation. They are liberated and they're free of the modes, but they don't have anything to do and they don't have association. And here Prabhupada says, and because you have no association with the Supreme Lord, you'll have to come back and associate with this material world. Because eventually they will want to do something and they will want to need association for doing something. So then they will come here.
yes, it is written in this thing, in this pages, that we want association, we cannot be alone all the time.
Yes, Prabhu, imagine it like this. If you had an airplane, that inside the airplane there would be no material, there would be no effect of three gunas inside the plane. It would be a small plane and you could only fly in the sky. How long would you want to be in that plane flying around? It would get boring at some point. You could fly however you like. There is no birth, dead, old age, but you are only you are inside the plane and you can fly around. Who would sit on that plane? One would become crazy and jump down from the plane. I would jump down. What I would do alone in a plane flying around, not becoming old even. It would be crazy. So this becoming particle of the spiritual sky is like this. There is so many of them, but they cannot associate with each other. They're just alone, like meditating, like and they cannot do anything. And when they want to do something, they want to leave that place, then they have to come back here because they cannot just go to the Vaikuntha lokas, as they don't have a spiritual like form yet or body that they could take like that. So they have to come here.
I have heard from one Prabhuji that in this material world, the rasa factor is the rasa always, the rasa will always reduce in this material world. And when we will got liberated in the Brahman Jyoti, this Nirguna Brahman, the rasa factor will be steady. It will not increase or not, it will not reduce. But in the Vaikuntha Loka, it will always increase. It will always increase and it will never stop. Every day it will increase. So, that's how it works.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, that's true. And here everything just decreases. Here it's opposite.
Yes, yes.
decreases.
Yes. Okay. So better that we know the nature of our constitutional position. Our constitutional position is that we want eternity. We want complete knowledge and we want pleasure also. If we are kept alone, we cannot have pleasure. Yes, here's a point. We will feel comfortable, and for want pleasure, we will accept any kind of material pleasure. There is a risk. But in Krishna consciousness, we'll have full pleasure. The highest pleasure of this material world is sex life, and that is also perverted, so diseased. So even in the spiritual world, there is sex pleasure in Krishna, but we should not think there is something like sex alive in the material world. No, but Janmadi Yasya Yataha, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Unless the sex life is there, it cannot be reflected here. It is simply of a perverted reflection. That actual life, that actual life is there. In Krishna, Krishna is full of pleasure. So the best thing is to train ourselves in Krishna consciousness. Then, at the time of death, it will be possible to transfer ourselves to the spiritual world and enter into Krishna Loka, Krishna's own planet, and enjoy with him. Chintamani Prakara Sad Manusho Kalpa Vriksha. लक्षवर्तेषु सुरभिर् अभिपलयत् अयन्तं लक्ष्मी लक्ष्मी सहस्रशत सम्भरम सेव्या मनं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. Brahma Samhita 5.99. There are the description of Krishna Loka. Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu. The house are made of touch stones. Perhaps you know touch stone. If a small particle, if it's touched to iron beam, the iron will at once become gold. Of course, none of you have seen this touch stone, but there's such thing. So all the buildings there are touch stones. Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu Kalpavriksha. This tree are desired trees where whatever you like you can get. Here from mango trees you get only mangoes. From apple trees you get apples. But there from any tree anything you like you will you can have. These are some of the description of Krishna Loka. So the best thing is not to try elevating ourselves to another material planet, because or any material planets you enter you find the same principle of miserable life. We are assumed to them. We have been sorry, what is called acclimated to birth and death. We don't care. The modern scientists are very proud of their advancement, but they have no solution to any of these unpleasant things. They cannot make anything that will check death, or disease, or old age. That is not possible. You can manufacture something that will accelerate death, but you cannot manufacture anything that will stop death. That is not your power. So, those who are very intelligent are concerned about finding a permanent solution to these four principles: Janma, Mrityu, Yara, Avadhi, birth, death, and old age and disease. They are concerned about attaining spiritual life full of bliss and full of knowledge. And that is possible when you enter in spiritual planets, as Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 8.15, sorry, 14. अनन्य चेतः सततं यो मां स्मरन्ति नित्यसः तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थः नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः. Nityayukta means continuously in trance. This is the highest yogi. One who is continuously thinking of Krishna, who is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. Such a perfect yogi does not divert his attention to the sort of process of or that sort of yoga system or the jnana or the dhyana system. Simply one system, Krishna consciousness. Ananya Chetaha, without any deviation. He is not disturbed by anything. He simply thinks of Krishna. Ananya Chetaha Satatam. Satatam means everywhere and at all times. For example, my residence is at Vrindavana. That is a place of Krishna where Krishna invented himself. So now I'm in America, in your country, but that does not mean I am out of Vrindavan, because if I think of Krishna always, it is as good as being in Vrindavana. I am in New York in this apartment, but my consciousness is there in Vrindavana. Krishna consciousness means you already live with Krishna in his spiritual planet. You simply have to wait to give up this body. So this is process of Krishna consciousness. Satatam yo mam smaranti nityasya smrati means remembering. Nityasya, continuously. Krishna declares that he becomes easily available to someone who is always remembering him. The highest, most valuable things becomes very inexpensive for one who takes up the process of Krishna consciousness. Tasyam Sulabha Partha Nitya Ektasya Yoginah, because he's continuously engaged in such a process of yoga, because yoga, oh, I'm very cheap, I'm very easily available. Why should you try for any kind of hard process? Simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. And you can chant 24 hours a day. There are no rules or regulations, either in the street or in the subway, at your home, in your office. There's no tax, no expense. Why don't you do it? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Rivo. Okay, now we need to go to six Astakam prayers, I think. Or can we read one more? What is the time in India? It is 10. Okay, maybe one more. Haribo. 5.3. Making friends
Isn't
with
it?
the mind.
Of course. Okay, let's do it.
Sujay Prabhu, do you want to read? Okay, Dipalai Prabhu, how is your name pronounced? How is it?
Actually, it is Devalai. Devalai means mandir. Devalai. Devalai.
Devalai. Yeah, Devalai. He's Devalai Prabhu. So let's read one page after each other. So when one finishes, one can continue, okay?
Okay, bro.
You can start the first page.
Okay. 5.3, making friends with the mind. In this mind, the ultimate reservoir of human resources, or is there a greater source of knowledge beyond our minds? In the following lecture, recorded in February 1969 in Los Angeles, Srila Prabhupada explains why the mind must be brought under the control of spiritual energy. His theme is based on the following famous verse from India's most widely read and respected scriptures in Bhagavad Gita. बंधुर आत्मनस्तस्य यनात्मै मत्मना जितः अनत्मनस्तु सतरुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, the mind will be the greatest enemy. Bhagavad Gita 6.6. The whole process of the yoga system is to make the mind our friend. The mind in material contact is our enemy. Just like the mind of a person is in a drunken condition, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 20.117, it is said, Krishna bhuliya se jiva anadi bhair mukha atevya maya tare deha samsara dukkha. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the Lord's external features from the time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy Maya gives him all kinds of misery in his time, in his material existence. One second, Prabhu, let me note this verse.
Yes, bro.
Okay, done. I am a spiritual soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But as soon as my mind contaminated, I rebel because I have a little independence. Why shall I serve Krishna or God? I am God. When this idea is dictated from mind, my whole situation turns. I come under false impressions and illusion, and my whole life is spoiled. So we are trying to conquer so many things, impart so on. But if we fail to conquer our mind, even if we conquer our even if we conquer an empire, we are failures. So our very mind will be our greatest enemy. The purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga is simply a waste of time. It is simply for show. One cannot control his mind, lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictation of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, and so on. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the direction of the personality of Godhead, which is situated within the heart of everyone's super soul, Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. जिनात्मनः परसन्तस्य परमात्मना समाधितः शीतोष्म सुख दुःखेषु तथा मना प्रमाण्यो. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, hurt and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Bhagavad Gita 6.7. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external energy, when one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga system, that is to be considered as a having already reached the destination. One has to be abide by superior dictation when one's mind is fixed on the superior nature. One has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the supreme form within. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follow the dictation of the Paramatma or Super Soul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, distress and happiness, cold and hair, and so on. The state is practical samadhi and absorption in the Supreme. Jnana Vijana Triptatma Kuto Sucho Vichinte Dhriyaha Yukta iti uच्यते yogi sama lostrasma kanchana. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by a virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendental and self-control. He sees everything, whether it to be pebbles, stones, or gold, as same. Bhagavad Gita 6.8. Book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. In the Padma Purana, it is stated as follows. अथः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्रहयम इंद्रियाय सेवोन्मुखे हि ये जीवादु स्वयम् एव स्फुरति अधः BRS भक्ति रसामय सिंधु. अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्रहयम इंद्रियाय सेवोन्मुखे हि जिह्वादु स्वयम् एव स्फुरति अधः. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, from quality and pastime of Sri Krishna through his mentally contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, from quality and pastime of the Lord revealed to him. Prabhu, can you please copy this and send it to the group? Yes. Thank you. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form.
No, what is this doing? So what was this part? Where is... Yeah, I don't know. This is a mistake because it shouldn't be like this. I wanted to see what the real. Oh, this is Bhakti Rasamrit Yeah, it starts from here.
Yes, thank you, bro. Yeah, no one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna, though his maturely contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated with the transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. This is very important. Now, we accept Krishna as a supreme Lord, and why do we accept that Krishna is a supreme Lord? Because it is stated in the Vedic literature. The Brahma Samhita, for example, says Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. 5.1. The supreme controller is Krishna, who has an eternal blissful spiritual body. Those who are in the mode of passion ignorance simply imagine the form of God. When they are confused, they say, "Oh, there is no personal God, and absolute is impersonal or void." This is frustration. Actually, God has a form. Why not? Vedanta Sutra says, Janmadi Yasya Yataha, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. The spiritual absolute truth is that from whom or from which everything emanates. Now we have form, and not only we, but all the different kind of living entities have form. Where form have they come? They have where from have these form originated? These are very common sense question. If God is not a person, then how have his sons become persons? If my father is not a person, how have I become a person? If my father has no form, where from did I get my form? Actually, I have a similar verse. Actually, void. Yes, real matter 326. You can actually, Prabhu, you can search 3.26.22. The same thing is said there. 20, so X and 28, 20, I think 8. Wait. Let me check it again. 28. It's actually 326.28. 326.28.
Haribol, yes, Prabhu.
Read the actual.
Okay, translation. The mind of the living entity is known by the name of Lord Aniruddha, the supreme ruler of the senses. Possesses a bluish-black form resembling a lotus flower growing in the autumn. He's found slowly by the yogis. Yeah, he's found slowly by the yogis. They take so long time to find.
Yes, read the purport as well, Prabhu. It's a short purport.
The system of yoga entails controlling the mind, and the lord of the mind is Aniruddha. It is stated that Aniruddha is four-handed with Sudarshan chakra, conch shell, club, and lotus flower. There are 24 forms of Vishnu, each differently named. Among these 24 forms, Sankarsana, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Vasudeva are depicted very nicely in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it is stated that Aniruddha is worshipped by the yogis. Meditation upon voidness is a modern invention of the fertile brain of some speculator. Actually, the process of yoga meditation, as prescribed in this verse, should be fixed upon the form of Aniruddha. By meditating on Aniruddha, one can become free from the agitation of acceptance and rejection. When one's mind is fixed upon Aniruddha, one gradually becomes God realized. He approaches the pure status of Krishna consciousness, which is the ultimate goal of yoga. Yes, Prabhu. It's not boy. Very well. This is really nice purport.
Yeah. So where did I get my form? Nonetheless, when people are frustrated when they see that the bodily forms are troublesome, they develop an opposite conception of a form, and they imagine that God must be formless. But the Brahma Samhita says no, God has a form, but His form is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha 5.1. Sat means eternity. Chit means knowledge, and ananda means pleasure. So God has a form, but his form is full of pleasure, full of knowledge and eternal. Now let compare our body to God. Our body is neither eternal or nor full of pleasure or nor full of knowledge, so our form is clearly different from God. But as soon as we think of form, we think the form must be like ours, uh, like ours. Therefore, we think that since God must be the opposite of us, he must have no form. This is speculation. However, not knowledge, as it's stated in the Padma Purana, Ataha Shri Krishna Namadina Bhaved Grahayam Indriyaya Bhakti Sindhu Ataha Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grahayam Indriya Seva Mukhi Jivhadvya Sevayam Eva Spurate Adaha. No one can understand this transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastime of Sri Krishna through his material contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord, and the transcendental name, form, quality of past of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasama Sindhu 1 to 30, 1 to 234, and this. One cannot understand the form, name, quality, or paraphernalia of God with one's material senses. Our senses are imperfect, so how can we see supreme person? It is not possible. Then how it is possible to see him? Seva mukhe hi jivadu. If we train our senses, once again, if we train our senses, we purify our senses. Those purified senses will help us to see God. It is just as if we had cataract in our eyes, on our eyes, because our eyes are suffering from cataract, we cannot see. Uh, hmm, we cannot see. But this does not mean that there is nothing to be seen, only that we cannot see. Similarly, now we cannot conceive the form of Lord. Second. But if you cataract is removed, but if your cataract is removed, we can see him. The Brahma Samhita says, Premanjana Acharita Bhakti Vilochenana Santaha Sadvaya Hadayashu Vilokananti. Brahma Samhita 5.38. The devotees whose eyes are intent with the love of God and men see God, Krishna, within their hearts 24 hours a day. So we require to purify our senses, then we will be able to understand that what form of God is, what name of God is, what the qualities of God are, what the abode of God is. God is God is are God the abode of sorry the what the abode of God is, and what the paraphernalia of God are, and we'll be able to see God in everything. It actually in Shatastra Upanishad 6.8, it is stated, it is like from Gita 11.43 purport. It's saying Natasya karyang karnang cha vidyate natat samascha bhavishya drishyate. The Bhagwan's body is not different from Bhagwan. It's stated.
Yes, Prabhu.
The Vedic literature is full of references to God form. For example, it is said that God has no hands or leg, but he can accept anything you offer. Apani pado jivano grihata. Also, it is said that God has no eyes or ears, but that he can see everything and hear everything. So these are apparent contradiction, because whenever we think of someone seeing, we think we must have eyes like ours. This is our mutual conception. Actually, however, God does not have eyes, but these eyes are different from ours. We can see him. We can see him. Sorry, we can. Where was it? I lost it. We can see even the darkness, but we cannot. God can hear also. God is in his kingdom, which is millions and millions of miles away. But if you are whispering something conspiracy, we can hear it because he is sitting within us. So we cannot avoid God's seeing or God's hearing or God's touching. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.96, Lord Krishna says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhakta prayachati tad aham bhakti viparatmam asnyami prayatmat manaha. If somebody offers me flowers, fruit, vegetables, or milk with devotional love, I accept or eat it. Now, how is he eating? We cannot see him eat, but he is eating. We experience this daily when we offer Krishna food according to the ritualistic process. We see that the taste of the food change immediately. This is practical. So God eats, but because he is full in himself, he does not eat like us. If someone offers me a plate of food, I may finish it, but God is not hungry. So when uh, is it so? God is hungry, but when he eats, he lives the things as they are. Puranasya purnam adaya purnam eva vishyate. God is full, and God is so full that he can eat all the food that we offer, and still it remains as it is. He can eat with his eyes. That is stated in the Dharma Samhita. Agyani yasha sakalendriya manti. Every limb of the body of God has all potencies of the other limbs. For example, we can see God, we can see with our eyes, but we cannot eat with our eyes. But if God simply sees the food we have offered, that is his eating. Of course, these things cannot be understood as at present moment. Therefore, Padma Purana says that only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastime of the Lord revealed to him. We cannot understand God by our own endeavor, but God can reveal himself to us. Trying to see God by our own effort, it's just like trying to see the sun when it is dark outside. If we say, oh, I have a very strong flashlight and I shall search out of the sun, we will not be able to see it. But in the morning, when the sun rises out of its own will, we can see it. Similarly, we cannot see God by our own endeavor because our senses are imperfect. Imperfect. We have to purify our senses and wait for the wait. I'm just we have to purify the senses and wait for the time when God will be pleased to reveal Himself before us. That is the process of Krishna consciousness. We cannot challenge. Oh, my dear God, my dear Krishna, you must come before me. I shall see you. No, God is not our ordered supplier, our servant. When He is pleased with us, we will see Him. So our yoga process tries to please God so that He will reveal Himself to us. That is a real yoga process. Without this process, people are accepting so many nonsensical gods because people cannot see God. Anybody who says I am God is accepted. No one knows who God is. Somebody may say I am searching after truth, but he must know what truth is. Otherwise, how he will search now truth. Suppose I want to purchase gold, I must know what gold is. Gold is, or at least have some experience of it. Otherwise, people will cheat me. So people are being cheated, accepting too many rascals as God because they do not know what God is. Anyone can come and say, I am God, and some rascals will accept him as God. The man who says I am God is a rascal, and the man who accepts him as God is also a rascal. God cannot be known like this. One has to qualify himself to see God, to understand God. That is a Krishna consciousness. Seven mukhe hi jivadvyo sabhyam eva spurati adaha. If we engage ourselves in the service of the Lord, then we'll become qualified to see God. Otherwise, it is not possible. Now, the Bhagavad Gita is a science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship, simply because one has some titles, MA, BA, PhD. That does not mean he will understand the Bhagavad Gita. There is a transcendental science, and one requires different senses to understand it. So one has to purify the senses by rendering service to the Lord. Otherwise, even one is a great scholar, a doctor, a PhD, he will make mistake in trying to find out what Krishna is. He will not understand. It is not possible. That is why Krishna appears in the material world as he is. Although he is unborn, Apopi son Avyatma, he comes to make us know who God is. But since he is not personally present now, to know him, one must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is pure Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. So we have to acquire the grace of Krishna, then we can understand Krishna, then we can see Krishna, then we can talk with Krishna, then we can do everything. Krishna is a person, he is a supreme person. That is a Vedic injunction. Nityo Nityam Chetanas Chetanamam. We are all eternal persons and God is supreme eternal person. Now we are meeting birth and death because we are engaged with this body, but actually being in eternal spirit soul, we have no birth and death at all. According to our work, according to our desire, we are transmitting from one kind of body to another. Yet actually we have no birth and death. And explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2.20, na jayate mityativa. The living entity never takes birth, nor does he never ever die. Similarly, God is also eternal. Nityo Nityam Chetanas Chetanam. God is supreme living entity among all living entities, and He is the supreme eternal person among eternal person. So, by practicing Krishna consciousness, by purifying our senses, we can reestablish our eternal relationship with the supreme eternal person, the complete eternal person. Then we'll see God. Though it's very big, big, very big.
Hey Krishna Prabhu, I can also continue.
Yes, Prabhu, please continue.
Through realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. Through transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions, but with mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna, and he is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. Even if one is illiterate, even if he does not know the ABCs, he can realize God, provided he engages himself in submissive, transcendental, loving service to God. On the other hand, although one is very learned scholar, he may not be able to realize God. God is not subject to any material condition because he is the Supreme Spirit. Similarly, the process of realizing God is also not subject to any material condition. It is not true that because one is a poor man, he cannot realize God, or that because one is a very rich man, he shall realize God. No, God is beyond our material conditions, apratihata. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 126, it is said, Savai pumsham paro dharmo yato bhaktiradokshaje. The religion is first class, which helps one advance his devotional service and love of God. Yeah, this verse is famous of explaining in simple one sentence that what religion means, or what is what is first class religion, what first class religion means. It's simple. In this, if someone comes arguing about religion, we just have to remember this verse.
Yes, Prabhu, there's that man who just joined the group. I don't know what his name, Ali or whatever. So he was talking like that. So we need
Yes,
to give in this.
yeah, this would be nice to him. The Bhagavatam does not mention that the Hindu religion is first class, or the Christian religion is first class, or the Mohammedan religion is first class, or some other religion is first class. The Bhagavatam says that the religion is first class, which helps one advance his devotional service and love of God. That's all. This is the definition of first class religion. We do not analyze that one religion is first class or that another religion is last class. Of course, there are three qualities in the material world: goodness, passion, and ignorance, and religious conceptions are created according to these qualities. But the purpose of religion is to understand God and to learn how to love God. Any religious system, if it teaches one how to love God, is first class. Otherwise, it is useless. One may prosecute his religious principles very rigidly and very nicely, but if his love of God is nil, if his love of matter is simply enhanced, then his religion is no religion. In the same verse, the Bhagavatam says that the real religion must be ahaituki and apratihata, without selfish motivation and without any impediments. If we can practice such a system of religious principles, then we'll find that we are happy in all respects. Otherwise, there is no possibility of happiness. Savai pumsam paradharmo yato bhaktiradokshaje. Bhagavatam 126. One of God's name is Adokshaja. Adokshaja means one who conquers all materialistic attempts to be seen. Akshaja means direct perception by experimental knowledge, and Adaha means unreachable. We cannot understand God by experimental knowledge. No, we have to learn of him in a different way, by submissive oral reception of transcendental sound and by the rendering of transcendental loving service. Then we can understand God. So a religious principle is perfect if it teaches us how to develop or love for the Godhead, or love for the Godhead. But our love must be without selfish motive. If I say, I love God because he supplies me very nice things for my sense gratification, that is not love. Real love is without any selfish motive. Ahai tuki. We must simply think, God is great, God is my Father, it is my duty to love him. That's all. No exchange. Oh, God gives me my daily bread, therefore I love God. No, God gives daily bread even to the animals, the cats and dogs. God is the Father of everyone, and he supplies food to everyone. So appreciating God because he gives me bread, that is not love. And when they get the food, they think that just because they asked, that's why God gave. Always thinking me. I'm the doer. Love without
Hmm.
motive. I must think. Even if God does not supply me daily bread, I love him. This is real love. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ashlisyava padaratam pinashtumam adarshanan marmahatam karotuva. O Lord, you may embrace me, or you may trample me down with your feet, or you may never come before me, so that I become brokenhearted without seeing you. Still I love you. This is pure love of God. When we come to this stage of loving God, then we'll find ourselves full of pleasure, just as God is full of pleasure. We'll also be full of pleasure. This is perfection. Ribo. Okay, now let's go to Shiksastakam prayers. This was really nice chapter. चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावादू जीवनम् आनन्दां बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नममम् अकारि बहुधा निजा सर्वशक्तिस् ततर्पिता नियामितः स्मरणेन कलः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवान् ममपि दुर्दैवम् इदर्शम् इह जानि ननुर्गः
तृणादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनया सदा हरि
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितं भ जगदीश ईश्व कामये मम जन्मनीश्वरे भवद्भक्तिरहितुकित्वये
हैनन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवां बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय
नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदा हृदयगिरा पुलकैर्निशितं वापुः कदा तव नमग्राहणे भविष्यति
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रविश्यायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
अश्लेष्यावापदरतं पिनास्तु मम अदर्शनं मर्माहतं हतं करोतु वा यथातः वा विदधातु लम्पतो मात् प्रणनथस्तु से एव न परः
Ribo. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental images. They are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, following constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so. Even if he handles me roughly by his imbalance or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me, he is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally.
हरि बोल श्री शिक्षास्तकम की जाय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय नित्यानंद प्रभु की जाय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जाय पंचतत्व की जाय जगत गुरु शिला भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपद की जाय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि